In talking about the Republican response to this, there's been a whole lot of deflection going on. Donald Trump was giving a speech talking about AI and how America invented AI, and Sam Altman is giving his foreskin as an investment in AI infrastructure. There's been all this talk about tariffs. Trump is talking about BRICS for some reason, but there is a major distraction that they are trying to implement, and that is labeling Barack Obama as a treasonous piece of who was, I guess, like responsible for Russiagate in 2016. This whole theory is performative, but more importantly, this whole theory is batshit. This is being orchestrated by Tulsi Gabbard, the director of national intelligence, and the Republican media is slopping this shit up. They are slurping up this they're slurping up this goop, this slop, as if there is any fucking merit to it. We have an article here, courtesy of the Associated Press. What's up, Bowie? We have an article here, courtesy of the Associated Press. Gabbard claims of an anti-Trump conspiracy are not supported by declassified documents. Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard this month declassified material she claimed proved a quote-unquote treasonous conspiracy by the Obama administration in 2016 to politicize U.S. intelligence in service of casting doubt on the legitimacy of Donald Trump's presidential election victory. What's rich about this, and as this article will highlight, is every single thing that Tulsi Gabbard mentioned is directly contradicted by the evidence that she presents. This, again, I cannot say this in any clearer terms. This is merely another distraction from the Jeffrey Epstein saga. Do not fall for this bullshit. There are a lot of things you could criticize President Barack Obama for. There are a lot of things for which you can paint him as a horrible president or as a president who made a bunch of horrible decisions. What they are talking about in regards to Russiagate and in regards to him being a traitor is not one of them. As evidence, Gabbard cited newly declassified emails from Obama officials and a 5-year-old classified House report in hopes of undermining the intelligence community's conclusion Russian President Vladimir Putin wanted to boost Trump and denigrate his Democratic opponent Hillary Clinton. Now, just take this at face value. Just read this sentence for what it is. Strip away the context surrounding it. We know that Vladimir Putin is a right-wing dictator. He's an autocrat. He is the commander of all of the oligarchs in Russia. Why would he want Donald Trump to be president? Well, him and Donald Trump seemingly, at least at this point, had a friendly relationship. And Vladimir Putin knew that he would get preferential treatment from Donald Trump as opposed to Hillary Clinton. That in and of itself is enough for me to be like, oh yeah, well, it's obvious that Russia would try to influence Donald Trump's victory. Additionally, when you consider just how geopolitics works, regional powers oftentimes try to meddle in other countries' affairs. This is nothing new. The United States has been doing it for fucking decades, more like a century or two almost. This is not out of the ordinary for large countries to try to do. Obviously, Russia didn't directly meddle in this election, much like the United States has done all throughout Latin America, Middle East, but this is what foreign powers do. Russia's activities during the 2016 election remain some of the most examined evidence. It remains some of the most examined events in recent history. The Kremlin's campaign and the subsequent U.S. government response were the subject of at least 5 major investigations by the Republican-led House and Senate Intelligence Committee, 2 Justice Department special counsels, and the department's inspector general. Those investigations either concluded or accepted the conclusion that Russia embarked on a campaign to interfere in the election through the use of social media and hacked material. This much is true. The House-led probe conducted by Trump allies also concurred Russia ran an election interference campaign, but said the purpose was to sow chaos in the U.S. rather than boost Trump. Several of the reports criticized the actions of Obama administration officials, particularly at the FBI, but don't dispute the fundamental findings Moscow sought to interfere in the election. The Associated Press has reviewed those reports to evaluate how Gabbard's claims stack up. Russian election interference. Claim, quote, the intelligence community had one assessment, that Russia did not have the intent and capability to try to impact the outcome of the U.S. election leading up to Election Day. That same assessment was made after the election, said Gabbard to Fox News on Tuesday. The documents that Gabbard released do not support her claim. She cited a handful of emails from 2016 in which officials conclude Russia had no intention of manipulating the U.S. vote count through cyber attacks on voting systems. Of the things that you can say about the electoral system here in the United States, one of them, and one that is objectively true, is that it is virtually impossible for a foreign country or perhaps even a domestic entity to meddle in the outcome of an election. American elections are among the safest and most secure in the world. Obviously, when you do have this many people who live in a country, there are going to be minor instances of voter fraud, whether that be from domestic sources, international sources, whatever the fuck it may be, whether it's propaganda on social media, whether it's algorithm tweaks, but those are not enough to impact the election. Those are not even enough to impact like fucking to impact the counts at the state level. Okay, that is the type of security that we are dealing with. President Obama's administration never alleged voting infrastructure was tampered with. Rather, officials have said, Russian operatives hacked emails of prominent Democrats that were subsequently released through WikiLeaks and launched a covert social media campaign to sow discord and inflame U.S. public opinion. More than two dozen Russians were indicted in 2018 in connection with those efforts. That's like Russian bot farms on Facebook spreading misinformation. Republican-led investigations in Congress have affirmed that conclusion, and the emails that Gabbard released do not contradict that finding. Shift in assessment claim, quote, there was a shift, a 180-degree shift from the intelligence community's assessment leading up to the article to the one that President Obama directed be produced after Donald Trump won the election that completely contradicted those assessments that had come previously, Gabbard said to Fox News on Tuesday. There was no shift. The emails Gabbard released show that a Department of Homeland Security official in August 2016 told then Director of National Intelligence James Clapper there was, quote, no indication of a Russian threat to directly manipulate the actual vote count. Because they can't. There's no fucking way for them to do that. It is impossible for voter fraud to be done by a foreign country. It just doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. Colombia can't do it. Venezuela can't do it. Russia can't do it. China can't do it. It's all bullshit. It's all bullshit. The public assessment the Obama administration made public in January 2017 reached the same conclusion. Quote, DHS assesses that the types of systems Russian actors targeted or compromised were not involved in vote tallying. The whole extent of Russia's involvement in the 2016 election was through hacked emails, as they mentioned, but mostly through social media, through bot farms, through engagement, through rage baiting, I guess is how we would fucking describe it with today's vernacular. It was people living in Russia making fucking accounts on Facebook and Twitter and actively capping for Donald Trump, being racist for Donald Trump, being outwardly white supremacist for Donald Trump. Putin's intent claimed the Obama administration, quote, manufactured the January 2017 intelligence community assessment that they knew was false, promoting the lie that Vladimir Putin and the Russian government helped President Trump win the 2016 election, Gabbard posted on Truth Social on Wednesday. The material declassified this week reveals some dissent within the intelligence community about whether Putin wanted to help Trump or simply inflame the U.S. public. That same question led to a partisan divide on the House Intelligence Panel when it examined the matter several years later. It doesn't fucking matter. Vladimir Putin probably wanted both, okay? He wants to destabilize the United States, but he also understands that he would likely have a favorable relationship with Donald Trump because Donald Trump is his or was his fucking friend, or they were at least friendly with one another. Obviously, Vladimir Putin would not be fond of Hillary Clinton being president of the United States. Gabbard's memo released last week cites a quote-unquote whistleblower who she says served in the intelligence community at the time and who was quoted as saying that he could not, quote, concur in good conscience with the intelligence community's judgment that Russia had a, quote, decisive preference for Trump. Such dissent and debate are not unusual in the drafting of intelligence reports. The Republican-led Senate Intelligence Committee examined whether there was any political interference in the Obama administration's conclusions and reported that, quote, all analysts expressed that they were free to debate, object to content, and assess confidence levels as is normal and proper. In 2018, Putin directly addressed the question of whether he preferred Trump at a press conference in Helsinki, even as he sidestepped a question about whether he directed any of his subordinates to help Trump. Yes, I did, Putin said, because he talked about bringing the U.S.-Russia relationship back to normal. Yeah. No. He's being political here. Putin, like, he would get preferential treatment from Donald Trump. Okay, that's the extent of their relationship here. The Steele dossier. We're still talking about the Steele dossier in the big 2-5. Put the fries in the bag, Grandpa. Retire. Go collect Social Security. Why are we still doing this, man? Christopher Steele is not president. Barack Obama is not president. Who gives a fuck? Claim. They used already discredited information like the Steele dossier. They knew it was discredited at the time. The dossier refers to a collection of opposition research files compiled by a former British spy, Christopher Steele, whose work was funded by Democrats during the 2016 election. Those files included uncorroborated tips and salacious gossip about Trump's ties to Russia, but the importance to the Russia investigation has sometimes been overstated. Russiagate was largely a nothing burger, okay? It was a lot of bullshit. It was a lot of shit that just wasn't relevant to anything at the time. Like, I remember they were talking about Donald Trump getting peed on. Okay, bro, let him get peed on. If that's his kink, let that be his kink. Is it a little weird that someone running for president has a piss fetish? Yeah, but who am I gonna sit here and who am I to judge his sexual fetishes, okay? It was not the basis for the FBI's decision to open an investigation in July 2016 into the potential coordination between the Trump campaign and Russia, the Justice Department's Inspector General found. Some of the records released by Gabbard this week also revealed that it was a CIA human source close to the Kremlin that the agency primarily relied on for its conclusion that Putin wanted to help Trump and hurt Clinton, not the Steele dossier. FBI agents on the case didn't even come to possess the dossier until weeks into their inquiry. Even so, Trump supporters have seized on the unverified innuendo in the document to undercut the broader investigation. Many of Steele's claims have since been discredited or denied. It is true, however, that the FBI and the Justice Department relied in part on the Steele dossier to obtain surveillance warrants to eavesdrop on the communications of a former Trump campaign advisor, the Inspector General found. FBI agents continued to pursue those warrants even after questions arose about the credibility of Steele's reporting. The dossier was also summarized over the objections of then CIA Director John Brennan, he has said, in a 2-page annex to the classified version of the intelligence community assessment. Tulsi Gabbard, who, remember, is clearly unfit to serve in this position. She's also a fucking hack. She's also a fucking grifter, a partisan hack. She is just doing everything in her power not to get fired by President Trump. President Trump went to her and said, Tulsi, I love your hair, by the way. I love it. I love that you're letting the gray grow out. It really fits you. I need you to make everybody forget that I am implicated by Mr. Jeffrey Epstein and his pedophile cabal. I need you to take a picture of Barack Obama and say that you should say that Joe Biden has a better jump shot than him. You should say that Joe Biden beat President Barack Obama. This is when Joe Biden was vice president, by the way. He beat President Obama in every game of one-on-one in he beat President Obama in every game of one-on-one that they played. Can you believe it? President Obama put a basketball court in the White House because he is apparently a very good basketballer, and yet he got beat by Sleepy Joe. He got beat by Sleepy Joe Biden when he was president every time. Can you make a story out of that, Tulsi? It's just I don't know how much more blatant they can make it, guys. If you're still falling for this, you are highly susceptible to propaganda. That's just how it is. They are clearly trying to obfuscate the entire Epstein saga. That is the only reason why this is a story. And remember, Fox News is running with this slop. Rupert Murdoch, who helped publish this goddamn who helped publish the all of these goddamn reports about Trump's connection with Epstein, is now directing Fox News to talk about this fucking slop. Like, what are we doing, man? What are we doing?